Welcome to Real Turkey channel and greetings from Istanbul from a sunny day where the temperature is 20 degrees Celsius. Still, some people don't believe climate change. May God bless them. Today we're going to talk about American elections and how the results may pertain to Turkish foreign policy, to Turkish a lot of everything. As you may know, Mr. Trump has very solid friends, macho, real men, strong men friends. Putin is one of them. Our President Erdogan is the second one, a very good friend. They have a bromance. And of course, the gist of this video is if Trump is elected, a new page may be opened in the very troubled Turko-American relationship. So in this video, first I'm going to talk about why the entire world is afraid of Trump's re-election. A couple of words about how the election is proceeding vis-a-vis the polls. Then how Trump and Recep Tayyip Erdogan got along during Trump's first visit to White House. And finally, how Trump's re-election may change the course of Turko-American relationship. Believe you me, dear Americans, if you are among those who watch this video, the entire world, ex-Putin, ex-Erdogan, are shivering in trepidation that Trump will come to power again, even Xi Jinping. The reasons are simple. Trump is erratic and unpredictable. And at a time where geopolitical risk is at a 2-decade high and the world is really on the verge of chaos for a variety of reasons, Trump would add an element of unwelcome uncertainty to global politics and global trade. Apropos trade, his idea of imposing a 10% tax on imports from every country, regardless of destination, is a nightmare. Japan and EU are closest allies of the United States. They're also in the Advanced Democratic Countries Club, and they will pay a 10% tax. His idea of imposing 60% tax on all China imports is hugely inflationary. It will devastate China, but it would also jack up inflation in the United States, and Fed will not be able to cut interest rates. Also, he wants to completely drop Ukraine from America's dependence list, even though my understanding of the American policy establishment, including think tanks and the state, is that if Putin is not stopped in Ukraine, he will threaten the security of the entire European continent. But as I've said, Putin, of course, wants Trump to be re-elected, and Mr. Erdogan too. Can he be re-elected? Up until a week ago, the polls I saw show Trump a couple of points ahead. Not a convincing lead, but still ahead. Last week, I saw the Ipsos Reuters poll and then the Economist poll of polls. In the Ipsos poll, Biden is 1 point ahead, but that's statistically a dead heat. And in the Economist, the candidates receive 45% each. So that's a dead heat too. Nevertheless, my gut feeling or my experience in Turkish and emerging markets economics for 35 years tells me Trump is closer to winning the election for the very simple reason is that Biden is very old and frail. Now, of course, Trump is no spring chicken, but compared to Biden, he's in rude health, and Biden has, failings in his memory. I don't know if Americans would entrust their future to a president which may or may not be coherent in the next 4 years. I think this election is going to come down to two factors, two key voter groups. A, the traditional old-fashioned Republicans who don't necessarily agree with Trump's maverick policies. Will they stay home, vote for an independent, or follow the party line? Two, minorities of all sorts who are slowly migrating away from their traditional home of Democratic Party to the Republicans. If they have a change of heart and come back to Democratic Party, Biden has a chance. Overall, the reason I shoot this video is my humble estimate, which is probably wrong, is that I think Trump is going to win by a likelihood of 60% or so. Now, let's revisit the Erdogan-Trump relationship. They were very close friends. They talked to each other. Erdogan visited Trump several times. There was only one incident where Trump and Recep Tayyip Erdogan disagreed. That was the arrest and detention of a pastor, American pastor, Andrew Brunson, for really completely trumped up terrorism charges. The poor guy was facing 25 years in a Turkish prison. Watch Midnight Express and you would know what I mean. And Trump said, I'll destroy Turkish economy if you don't release the guy. I think 6 days later, they were praying together in the White House. But besides that, Trump has been very generous to Turkey. The best example of that is Turkey's purchase of Russian-made S400 anti-missile systems. The Congress and NATO as well was infuriated. The Congress passed the Magnitsky Act, but before it came into power, Trump slapped some salutary or symbolic sanctions in the United States on Turkey, thus saving Turkey from the worst. Now, if he is reelected, how could he change the dynamic of Turko-American relationship? There are several issues of disagreement between the two countries, some of which could be very expensive. The first is the never-ending Halkbank case. To recall, Halkbank is accused of violating sanctions on Iran, essentially becoming a conduit for money laundering for Iran. Now, Halkbank appealed to Constitutional Court for the case to be dismissed. The court rejected that petition but sent it down to the New York Appellate Court. Now, the New York Appellate Court is entertaining a motion by Halkbank to dismiss on same ground. The ground is that, look, we're a foreign sovereign entity and American commercial law and sanctions law doesn't apply to sovereign entities. The court will decide. I'm not a legal expert, but judging from the past of this case, I think the court would reject Halkbank's Halkbank's dismissal petition, and the case will go to trial. Experts tell me that it is more likely than not Halkbank will be found guilty. And the fees could be excruciating. Halkbank estimates it will have to pay $1 billion in penalties. I've seen some sources go up as high as $7 billion, and that would really bankrupt Halkbank. As well as as some witnesses testified, Halkbank did what it was alleged to have done with the blessing of the senior politicians such as Ali Babacan, the then economy minister, and the then prime minister Erdogan. Of course, then penalties could be imposed on these personnel as well. Of course, I don't think Trump can make the Halkbank trial disappear, but it's my understanding that no matter what the judgment is, it's at the end the American Foreign Ministry, the Secretary of State, who decides how the penalty will be imposed, so they can cut a slack for Turkey if Trump is the president. The second issue is, of course, S400s and F35 jet fighter program. When Turkey, as I've said, purchased S400s as a punishment, she was kicked out of the F-35 program. Not only were we deprived of the fifth generation jet fighters, but also we had purchased 4 F-35s and paid a deposit. That was not returned. More importantly, had we stayed in the F-35 production program, roughly $9 billion worth of very high value added jet fighter spare parts would have been manufactured in Turkey, which would have given Turkish defense and civil aviation industries a tremendous boost. Now, of course, Trump cannot make S-400s go away, but if Trump is elected, by the way, recently United States, through several official spokespersons, have invited Turkey back to the F-35 program with the proviso that S-400s are somehow removed from Turkey, one way or other. And Turkey said, no, we're not interested at this point, which is understandable because Turkish politicians think they'll get a better deal if they decide to negotiate if Trump is the next president. Trump cannot make this S-400 issue go away, but he could persuade Turkey to somehow permanently deactivate S-400s. For instance, S-400s, the supervision of it could be turned over to a NATO officer, which would assure NATO that these systems will never be activated. Or a deal can be cut between Putin, also a good friend of Trump, Erdogan and Putin, Erdogan and Trump, which sees Putin taking back the S-400s. By the way, S-400s proved completely ineffective in Ukraine war. What a waste of money. Turkey coming back to the F-35 program is going to be a tremendous gain. Turkey is currently using F-16s, which are aging rapidly. She has tried to purchase Eurofighters, which are also fifth-generation jets, but UK said yes, Germany said no. I don't think this veto will be lifted, given Germany's antagonism to Erdogan's human rights abuses. So F-35s would be a welcome addition to Turkey's arsenal, though I don't see Turkey waging war on any of its neighbors in the next 20 years or so. But hey, it is what it is, you know? And of course, I don't know if this is still feasible, but once again, becoming part of the, supply chain of F-35s would not only gain valuable export revenue for Turkey, but would also accelerate the development of Turkey's military and civil aviation industry. Of course, Turkey has this domestic jet fighter Kaan, which is supposed to be added to the inventory of the Turkish Air Force in 2028. I am not so sure it can be made flight ready by then. I would say if really it is as good as it is suggested, 2032 is a more feasible date. The third issue is, of course, Syria and Iraq. Turkey has this ongoing problem with Iraq, which is the base of the most notorious terror organization in the world, PKK, claiming to be a Kurdish insurgency. PKK has done nothing for the freedom and equality of the Kurdish people, but is essentially involved in drug trading and extortion, and professional terrorism, which sells its services to the highest bidder. Now, Turkey wants to get rid of PKK by a joint military operation in Iraq with Iraq. Of course, if Trump were president, Iraq would be easier to persuade. Also, there is a Syrian entity in northeast Syria, where Syrian Kurdish entity in northeast Syria called PYD-YPG, which is not the same as PKK, though Turkey claims it is, but it has affiliations to PKK. There is a sort of fluidity between two organizations. I think PYD-YPG, sort of like Muslim Brotherhood, may have involved in terrorism-related activities, but it's mostly a legitimate organization that fights for the freedom of Syrian Kurds and fights against ISIS. But Turkey wants to destroy that and any hope of Syrian Kurds having not even independence but autonomy. And of course, United States supports Syrian Kurds. The way Trump could solve this problem is twofold. First, I think Trump would withdraw American forces from Iraq and Syria, which would give the upper hand to Turkey in terms of dealing with Iraq and essentially staging any kind of military operation in Syria. I mean, who would stop Turkey? Putin is so deeply buried in Ukraine, I don't even think its air force has enough jets to spare to defend the Syrian airspace. And you look at the range of problems between Turkey and the United States, of these, the most nagging and where the Turkish people feel the most strongly is this PKK and Syrian Kurds. If Turkey and United States can find a way to solve this problem, one way or other, I don't really care. Perhaps Trump can mediate a peace between Turkey and Syrian Kurds. But if he can make that problem go away, Turkey and United States could once again become strategic partners and help achieve each other's goals in the region and certainly help, regional peace. Of course, a very generalized benefit of Trump's re-election would be investment. Now, Turkey and United States don't do much trade. American companies don't have a big presence in Turkey. But nowadays, not only foreign direct investment and trade, but also financial investment is essentially guided by the consideration of whether the destination country is an ally. This is why China has suffered an exodus of financial capital and now foreign direct investment is leaving the country. Russia's case is too obvious to mention here. So if Trump is elected, and obviously both parties would demonstrate that they are friends, there is one less obstacle for companies to purchase productive assets in Turkey or for, global funds to invest into Turkey. And Turkey is underinvested. So that could be a huge deal. Of course, Ukraine presents a conundrum for Turkey. I don't know whether Trump is serious about ending all military aid to Ukraine. He's not a very thoughtful person. He speaks as he thinks. I think regardless of who his advisors are, will tell him that this is a very bad idea. It will end all leverage on Putin, and Putin makes no secret of his ambition of reclaiming all the territory that was once Soviet socialist republics. So maybe he will change his mind and send military aid to Ukraine. But if he doesn't, Turkey faces a serious problem. We are friends with Putin. There is a huge and growing economic interdependence between Turkey and Russia. But I don't think Ankara would want Putin to win either, because in politics, a weak friend is a better friend. I mean, thanks to Putin's preoccupation with Ukraine, Turkey has been able to help Azerbaijan in Caucasus to beat Armenia out of Nagorno-Karabakh. Putin and Assad want Turkish forces to withdraw from Syria, and Turkey doesn't care because Putin really doesn't have any means to force this issue. Now, if Putin wins, of course, Turkey would also lose lucrative military contracts to Ukraine, and the biggest hope for Turkish economy, Turkish construction sector, which is the reconstruction of Ukraine, where Turkish companies, because they are cost efficient and very good at what they do, would get the lion's share. So I don't know how Erdogan and Trump would play the Ukraine game. In fact, the question that really vexes me is, if Trump were to call Erdogan and ask, look, what am I supposed to do with Putin and Ukraine? I like Putin, but people tell me, he's not the friendly, peaceful guy I know. He might stage further wars if he wins in Ukraine. What would you suggest? I really don't know the answer. I don't know what Erdogan would tell Putin. And that remains the biggest question mark in the relationship. But to summarize what I've said, 99% of the world don't want Trump to be re-elected. Putin and Erdogan are the exceptions. And if Trump wins the White House once again, I will feel sorry for the American people and for the Chinese people. But I think Turkey would rejoice. And not only politically, but economically, there would be significant windfalls for Turkey. This is Atilla Yeşilara. thanking you once again for watching Real Turkey channel videos, and as usual, our co-producer, Turkey's premium economics channel, Mesele Economy, for helping me put this video out. Send those comments. I love them. Bye-bye.